Thank you for joining us on our adventure discovering what it means to be sold out to Christ. This will be a series of messages and thoughts that will draw us all closer to Jesus. Don't just accept your salvation, use it as the beginning of a relationship with Christ and help change the world. Accept all things, expect nothing, and stay focused on Christ.
You know, as Christians, we are told and encouraged all the time about sharing our faith with others. It's something that we sometimes seem to forget. But I've also, over the last few years, have managed to get acquainted and run into a lot of guys and gals that are really so super about sharing their faith. One of them especially I'm going to share with you today is Mark Delaney. Mark and I have known each other for a while now, and every time that I sit with him, he tells me a story of how he has been put into some type of a predicament or a situation that God's put him in, that where he is able to share his faith, and he does it in a way that just brings glory to God, and that's what we should all try to do in our daily walk with him. So I'm going to share this with you, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining me.
I'd like to share a story, a testimony about a season of life I had with a man named Gabriel. Gabriel hired me on a commercial apartment complex in Conway, South Carolina, to help him with his framing needs that he needed to have done. He's a Hispanic builder. He had a big crew that was involved in it, but he had difficulty with his communication skills in English. So I took hold of the plans that he was dealing with and was able to kind of get involved with helping him get started, doing some layouts, things like that. Well, as we became more involved in the project, Gabriel started to share with me that he needed my help just to understand the bid that he gave and how he was being able to get his draws, because something didn't seem right to him. So I did. I looked over this set of plans, and I got a hold of his contract, and what I found out was he was steered in a direction to bid on a unit by unit in a big apartment complex. So many square feet per unit, there's so many units in a building, give me a price. And that's what he did. What he didn't know is that they had all of these as 3 stories on each one of these buildings, and the other part that was connected to it was all of the stairways, the landings, the balconies were all built out of wood, and he was responsible for putting all that stuff up. So when I brought it to his attention what the square footage was of all of that portion, because he bid it on square footage, we found out that there was a huge gap in what he should have gotten a contract for and what he received a contract for. So he asked me what to do, and I said, well, you're going to need to sit down with this builder to be able to get this worked out. And he said, well, Mark, I'm going to need you to be there at that meeting. And I was like, I was uncomfortable. I really wanted to help him, but I knew that it was like I was going to be walking into this fire. I knew that it was not going to make people happy. So, but I agreed. I told him that I would be there. I put together what he needed to be able to share, and I said that I'd go. So the day of the meeting was coming up. I knew, it was like having a lion roaring around at this project. So we met in the parking lot of this place, and we were right up on the hood of his truck, and Gabriel was there. The paperwork was in his hands. He said to the contractor that that something didn't seem right, and he realized that he wasn't getting paid for these all these decks and porches. And that contractor, he says, you know what? He said, before we start, I want you all to know is that I want this meeting to just be very civilized, very diplomatic, and no hard feelings. And boy, I was in agreement. I said, thank you. That'd be great. Gabriel, he didn't know, what to think about that comment. And then the next words out of this man's mouth was, but. But we already have a contract. You signed it, and you're going to abide in it. And it was like, I don't care about anything you're going to say, or anybody else would have to say, because this is a done deal. I had to pause for just a minute before I said my next words. But I asked him a question of what he just remarked about. I asked him, I said, you said that there's no one else here that cares. Is that right? That's right, he said. You said that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because this contract is a done deal. Is that correct? He agreed. Well, I reached into my pocket and I pulled out this cross and I dropped it on his hood. And I said, there is someone else here that cares. And he died on this cross. And he does care with what your life is about. And he does care about Gabriel's life. And he does care about my life. What I witnessed next was a miracle. It got very quiet around that truck. And this contractor, he said, maybe I can work something out with you. And Gabriel looked at me and he said, Mark, thank you for being here, but let me talk to the contractor. I didn't have to lay it all out. I'd already told Gabriel that he was shorted, $60,000. I told him what he deserved for what the square footage numbers were. I reminded him about, before we ever went to the meeting, about how much work it was, like he didn't know that. I tried to go all these things to be able to stick it in his hand so he knew, he's like, take care of this. You deserve it. Gabriel said, Mark, thank you for being here. I'm going to talk to the contractor. So I left. Later in the day, I went back, I'd gone back to what I was taking care of for him, and later in the day I saw Gabriel, and he came up to me and I said, so, did everything go okay? And he said everything went good. I said, did he give you everything that he owes you? He said, he gave me enough. See, what might be enough to him is going to be different than what I might think enough is. But the thing is that something happened. And that guy, that contractor, he recognized that there was somebody else that was there that morning.
Thank you for joining us on our adventure discovering what it means to be sold out to Christ. Help us spread the word by subscribing to this channel, clicking the notification bell. Then, most importantly, pass it on to your friends. Remember, it is all about Christ. Accept all things, expect nothing, and stay focused on Jesus.